Okay, here we go. All right, well, thank you all for joining me tonight, whether you're here in person or whether you're online. If I have not had the opportunity to meet you before tonight, my name is Commissioner Monique Sheffield, and it's a pleasure to meet those who I have not met to this point. So we have quite a bit to cover this evening. We have Cobb Douglas Public Health in attendance, and they're on site, and we have Dr. Memark, who's going to present to us shortly. And we're also giving vaccinations, the Pfizer vaccination, whether it's your first or second shot, is that correct? Whether it's your first or second shot, then you can take your vaccination over in the area over to the right. But before we get started, I just wanted to say, again, thank you for joining us. And I don't know if we have any elected officials here with us. I didn't see anyone. Oh, there we go, Doc Red. If you would stand. We have Senator Doc Red, and we also have Mayor Pro Tem Henry Lust of the city of Austell. So thank you all for joining us tonight. I also like to thank our staff. If our staff would all stand. These guys are tremendously instrumental in everything that we do at Cobb County and keeping Cobb moving forward. We will not be where we are in terms of bringing services to you without the help of our staff. At this point, I would like to acknowledge our appointees. And as I call your name, if you would stand up, it looks like I'm missing a couple of people, perhaps they're in traffic. But we have with our airport advisory board, Opemi Ademi. I don't see him here. With our animal services board, we have Wayne Blackstone. Board of Zoning Appeals, we have Jacqueline McSwain. Historic Preservation Commission, we have Geraldine Savage Aldridge. Geraldine, did you pay them? Because you're the only one that got applause. Did you pay them? Oh, okay, that's what it is. And also we have with our Home Builders Advisory Board, Marta Stewart. And of course, with Keep Cobb Beautiful, if you guys are out on any given Saturday in the neighborhood, you will see Barry Krebs, if you would stand, and Jeff Padgett. I mean, when I tell you guys that, when I tell you that these two men, they work tireless to keep our communities clean, and they just love their community. They love what they do, and oftentimes I'll get out with them if I have the time and help to keep our communities beautiful. But thank you guys so much. Our library board, we have Miss Ollie Davis, and we have Rachel Miller. And we also have with us from our Neighborhood Safety Commission, Joel Cope, who also serves on the Mableton Improvement Coalition. And we have our Recreation Board, one of our two members here with us tonight, and that's Elliot Hennington. And with our SPLOST committee, we have Tanya Robinson and Roger Sandals. I don't see Carolyn here, but Carolyn is on our Board of Tax Assessors. Nobody's clapping, I get it. You must have received your tax bill in the mail. I have a slide on that a little later. Our Transit System Advisory Board, Danya Aponte. And we have a new addition to the Planning Commission. And before serving in his current role in Paulding County as the Executive Director of the Economic Development Organization, Michael Hughes served as Cobb County's Economic Development Division Manager in Community Development. During his 25 years at Cobb County, Michael was instrumental in developing and administering a variety of business recruitment and retention initiatives. He has approximately 33 years of professional experience as a city planner in Los Angeles and in Pasadena, California. He is a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners and a graduate of Leadership Cobb. He is also a recipient of the Mac Henderson Public Award, which was presented to him by the Cobb Chamber of Commerce. And he also received the Golden Goose Award in 2003, which was presented by the Board of Commissioners. So it is my pleasure to introduce to you our new Planning Commissioner for District 4, Mr. Michael Hughes. Okay, so we will go ahead and get started. Our first presenter is Dr. Memark with Cobb Douglas Public Health.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me tonight and all of you coming out for this. And I hope there's some folks that came to get vaccinated. So we're really excited to do that for you. You want me to use the mic? All right, can you hear me now? Okay. Let me see if I can do this here. It keeps moving away from me. It's a moving mic. Okay. All right. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little update today, and then I'm going to try to talk a little bit about some of the most common questions and issues that we get about vaccines. And I'm happy to take some more questions. This is one of your few opportunities to ask me a question up front so that maybe I can answer some of the most common questions and myths that people have. All right, so let's take a look. So when we look at these numbers are already outdated, but they're around the same. So when we looked at our case rates, we were at 127 per 100,000. And for no prize at all, can anybody tell me what the high rate of transmission is? 100. 100! Ross is my best pupil that I've had. So we're still above high transmission, but it has been coming down. Just to give you an idea, when we were in the surge in the wintertime, it was 1,400 at that time per 100,000 folks. So we are down to 127, around that range. More support for how well we're doing right now is our positivity rate. So of all the tests that are being done right now, we have 3% that are coming back positive. At one point, we were over 25%. 1 in 4 tests were coming back positive. So we are in a much, much better place than we were. We continue to have deaths that keep coming in. We had passed our 1,000 mark, and we have 1,058 deaths that we've had in Cobb County. And unfortunately, the majority of those folks have been over the age of 60. So the fact that we were able to vaccinate almost 90% of them has been very, very helpful, so that it immediately slowed down the number of people that were dying from COVID-19. Here's my warnings here. So this is the variants that we're seeing. You see that kind of mustard colored one in the middle that's growing exponentially? That's the B117 variant from the UK. Now this is a little bit old. They just came out with a new one yesterday. We're at 71% of the samples that are being sent in are the B117 variant. So what is happening is the variants are increasing right underneath our feet, even as we vaccinate. That variant has taken over, okay? We have been very, very lucky. I think it's because we've been able to vaccinate and some of the measures that we've been putting in place that we've not seen horrific effects of this variant thus far. So we'll keep on keeping on and hope that we continue. You can see how in the Southeast, it's the highest variant, and it continues to spread. And then we already went over this. So 127 cases per 100,000. We're at 3%. Hospitalizations are also low for COVID-19 right now. So all good indicators, and we're going in the right direction. That being said, COVID is still in our community. And so if it seems like COVID, like you got the cough and the shortness of breath and fevers, you probably need to get tested, okay? We still have free testing that's available at Jim Miller Park by Mako. They do take insurance, but if you don't have any, that's okay. They won't charge you. Just want to make sure everybody knew we still had free testing. Here are vaccinations. So when you look at the state of Georgia, we're at 30% with the completed vaccinations and 37% for first dose. So Cobb, always ahead of the curve, is 40% for first dose and 32% for fully vaccinated. Now, it's good, but we still have room, right? We still got to increase that number so that we will feel a little bit more comfortable. We're not going to call it herd immunity, but community immunity. We do need to increase that because we don't want the variants to have a chance to mutate further and cause us even more trouble. All right, so let's talk about the vaccines. For those of you that are still on the fence or you got family members on the fence, we know that there's some side effects from the vaccine. Very, very well known. It includes headaches, having some fevers, muscle aches. You can have some chills. You're going to have that arm pain and some joint pain maybe. But it'll show up the second day most likely. And then by the third day, it's much better, right? And the next day after that, you're good. And so it does feel kind of crappy at first, but you know it's going to go away and you know you're going to be better. So that's good. Are there long-term effects from this? Well, we have not seen any long-term effects from most of the vaccines yet. So you do know about the Johnson & Johnson. There were very, very few cases of having some blood clots, but that was in people that were a little bit more predisposed to that, right? But the ones that we have, the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines, which are the mRNA vaccines, they've been shown to be very, very safe. All right. Oh, here's my next question. Are they safe? So we have given over 250 million doses throughout the United States with very, very few problems with the vaccine. Having even a severe allergic reaction is very rare. Most people, and I have to tell you, we've seen thousands, almost 100,000 folks that have come through our vaccination sites. And the most common thing we see is actually anxiety. And people, for some reason, are not eating and drinking before they come, and then they kind of get vasovagal and want to pass out on us. But it's usually because they tell you they haven't eaten since the day before. So and this is a question I actually was very worried about too. Don't we think that it got developed a little too fast, right? So first of all, how slow is the federal government? Very, very, very slow. So to have us in a federal response where we're able to take away a lot of the barriers, we were able to get rid of all the red tape. So these vaccines could proceed through and be researched. So that was one thing. The second thing is it's not a brand new technology. The mRNA vaccines, which are Pfizer and Moderna, have been researched for like 14 years now. The technology was there. They were able just to complete the next steps to be able to deliver the COVID vaccines. And we're very, very grateful. They do not go into your DNA and change your genetic makeup. They don't do that. All right. Now, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is actually the DNA vaccine. That one is the same technology that we've had since the 1700s. All right. Like many, many other vaccines that we have had. Very, very safe and extremely effective. All right, so don't other people need it more than me? Okay, that's a cop-out, okay? So we have vaccines for everybody now. We have so many, we're sending millions to other countries. So it is important that we all get vaccinated. The reason is that we have to prevent transmission. You have to prevent having the virus, whether it's a mutant strain or something, hopping to another host and causing problems within our community. So we need to raise up our community immunity levels so that the virus has nowhere to go. So it's very important. And what we're seeing in hospitalizations, it's younger folks that are being hospitalized now. They're the ones that are not getting vaccinated, 40s and 50-year-olds that are now being hospitalized. And so when this virus continues to mutate, there are at least 10 strains of this virus that can come and get you at any point. All right. The vaccines are working and they work against the mutants. So it's our best weapon that we have. Do they work? Oh, yes, they work, right? So they have varying degrees, anywhere from like 60-something% to greater than 90% effectiveness against COVID-19. But what's most important is they have 100% effectiveness against hospitalizations and death. And in the children that they've done for the Pfizer vaccine, they had 100% effectiveness across the board with less side effects than what adults had. So extremely effective vaccines. Oh, this is a great one. My friend Kimberly in the front talked about, what if I just don't like shots, right? So a lot of people, don't be embarrassed, don't like to get shots. So what I tell people is, first of all, it's the anticipation that's the worst part of this, right? So the actual shot is actually not that bad. They use the smallest possible needle, and it is 0.5 cc's. It is the quickest thing you've ever seen. Most people don't even realize that you've gotten it. They're going to shoot you before you even know that you got it, okay? Before you can start even panicking, it'll be done. All right. And I pinched Kimberly to show her that was worse than getting the shot. So, all right. How much will it cost you? It costs you nothing for the vaccine. Now, if you have insurance, we may charge your insurance for the administration of the vaccine, only because public health has no money. And so we have to try to recoup some of the money. But if you don't have the money or you don't want to pay, you don't have to. We will vaccinate you anyway. Okay. Nobody has to pay. Do you need identification? No, you don't. Now, we may ask you just to make sure your information gets put into the registry, the GRITS vaccine registry correctly, but you don't have to provide any identification. So if someone's afraid to provide identification, or if they're out of state, out of country, don't worry about it. Please tell them to come in and get vaccinated, okay? All right. Ooh, no, maybe no mask. Oops, sorry. So this is still up for debate, right? So if you're vaccinated, you're okay. There's certain areas like healthcare, and if you are kind of immunocompromised, but the bigger issue is how to operationalize this, right? How do we know who's vaccinated, who's not vaccinated? Tonight we're on the honor system, but when we go into other areas, it becomes a little bit more of an issue. I'm not going to get into that, but you get your freedom back, right? Get to travel. Now countries are opening up to those vaccinated. You get to go out and now, go and eat in restaurants. I ate in a restaurant by myself before I came. And so these are things that you get to go out and do now. You get your lives back. If you're like my mom, you're playing mahjong a couple nights a week with her buddies that are vaccinated. We don't see her anymore. So vaccine appointments, there are many ways you can do it. You can call the Cobb County line. You can walk into our locations. You can go to Corps locations, just walk up and get vaccinated. Lots and lots of locations. And this is just to show you all the locations. This is Cobb and Douglas. And then you got all of these different locations that Corps offers. So different places. And my team can come out to different areas that you're living, working, and playing at, and they're going out to vaccinate. This is how important it is to get us all vaccinated. Here's our call center. So Cobb County is a wonderful call center. You can ask all kinds of questions and even ask about rental assistance if you need it. It's my understanding. Lots of questions they can answer. If you need a free ride, Lyft can help you with a free ride as well. And I didn't realize how many different things they did. So a lot of resources that United Way offers. And so there's a lot of emergency services that you can call them for. So they're a great resource. All right, so this is my final thoughts. We have variants that continue to rise. We still are in high transmission. We don't want to spark a new variant that's resistant to the vaccines. All this effort that we've made and how far we've come, we really don't want to be set back. We need to be able to protect those who can't get vaccinated, and that includes people who've had transplants actually too. They're finding very low immunity after vaccination in those folks. And we have to get better coverage to be able to get back to normal. So let's all get vaccinated. And now your 12 to 15-year-olds are all eligible as well. Okay, I'll answer any questions anybody has. Yes, sir?
What's entertaining about booster shots and what they're needed and what milestone of time?
Yeah, so that is still being researched, but I saw that Dr. Fauci recently said he anticipates that they'll come out. And it makes sense with all of the different variants that are popping up. The beautiful thing about this technology is that they're able to produce the booster rather quickly, and that's great news. And they've shown that they can produce the vaccine as well. So there's no final word, but it wouldn't be a surprise if they came out with with a booster. Any other questions?
Has the vaccine been out long enough for us to be able to do titer tests on the efficacy?
Yes. So actually, Senator Kirkpatrick, if you all know her, I just talked to her recently. She actually had COVID, and Emory took titers of her the whole way, and she saw her antibodies start to come down actually after her natural immunity was waning. She got the vaccine, and they showed it go right back up again, and then it was kind of in the lower level, and then she got the second vaccine and it popped up really, really high. So yes, they are doing some of those studies. And so you can see how, they keep changing the recommendations because the vaccine is fairly new. And so they can tell you that when they feel more comfortable with kind of releasing everybody back into their normal states.
One thing that might help you with,
Yeah.
I Okay. One thing that might help us relax some of the people that are afraid of the vaccine, coronavirus has been around in dogs and cats for quite some time.
Yeah.
So if any of you have dogs or cats, you've been vaccinating your dog for about 40 years. So,
That's right.
it's pretty safe vaccine.
Yeah. And it's the, what is it? The otters at the aquarium got it, and they found it in tigers and minks as well. So it is very transmissible to animals. Yes, sir.
The numbers you presented and the numbers of people vaccinated in the county, was that taken from a registry that has our address on it? Or was that taken from the number of shots that were given in Cobb County physically to people?
That's a great question. So it's a little bit of a mixed bag. So the information gets uploaded to the registry, and then they just plop it down into the county.
I asked that because, you know, we couldn't get appointments in the metro for a long time. And many of us, you know, my household included, we went to Lawrence County to get ours.
Yeah.
And
so if you put your address in, it will be accounted towards Cobb. I know though in some places like Wellstar that did employees, sometimes they put their building address, so that was a little different, you know. But the vast majority are our addresses.
Okay, it seemed like it was kind of low, and I wondered.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's low, and that we're we're a lot better. We're getting there though.
We have time for one more question.
Okay. One more question. Yes, sir? Okay. While we're going over there, is there anybody that's interested in getting a vaccine tonight that I can send my team over to you? Huh? Please? Kimberly? Yeah? Okay. All right. Okay, I'll send them over, then maybe they can sneak in and jab a couple people. So you don't sneak by the back door. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Dr. Maymar, thank you for your presentation. I just have more of a comment than a question. There's a lot of hesitancy out there as far as taking the vaccine. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. There's a lot of hesitancy about taking a vaccine out in the public. And one of the things I think may help is if we can start gathering data on post vaccination statistics. For example, of the 30 million or so that have taken the vaccine, or 30%, you know, what percentage of those people got a relapse, and what were the results from that relapse? So
Okay.
this is more of a suggestion.
Okay. I will get that. We do have that. There are a few cases that are breaking through the vaccine. So that is not it's beyond possibility, but it's a very low number. And it's not as severe. So that's really important too. Okay. All right. All right. Thank you all. Thank you.
So much. Is this your mask?
I was so excited right now.
No, that's okay. Okay. So I just want to, let me just put this over here because I have a mic. I just want to update you guys on a few things that's going on in District 4. We started the year off great. We had a few parks and trail ribbon cutting ceremonies, thanks to my parks recreation team. If you're in here, I believe I saw Michael Brantley. So thank you to you and your team. Earlier this year, we had our Silver Comet Trail entrance cutting over in Austell off Drennan Road. And we also had Discovery Park at the Riverline, which is more of a trail, is not much of a park, is more of a trail over off Discovery Boulevard in Mableton. And also our Mableton Square Park, which is in the heart of downtown Mableton. So again, I thank the Mableton Improvement Coalition, along with their collaboration with Parks and Recreation, and bringing that park to fruition. All right, so some of you may have already received your tax notices in the mail. By show of hands, how many people received their taxes? How many people had sticker shock when they saw it? Okay. All right. So here's a little comedic relief. So when you look at your home, this is what you see, right? But when your tax assessor, Carolyn, this is for you. When the tax assessor visits your home, that's what they see. But of course, you're all free to appeal, and the information is right here on the screen. You want to visit cobassessors.org for any additional information. And also, the deadline to file an appeal is located in the assessment notice, so make sure you guys take a real good look at that. So as you guys know, there's been quite a bit of development in District 4. We receive at the Board of Commissioners and also in the zoning division, we receive quite a few zoning applications, and District 4 has certainly received their fair share. And that's good news, because what that tells us down at the county is that there is an interest for developers to build in District 4. So that's all good news, right? So just kind of tapering down some of the more popular renovations or developments that we have. This is the Hobby Lobby Plaza on East-West Connector and Austell Road. Are you guys familiar with that location? So, okay. So if you're familiar with that location, then you're also familiar with the fact that it has been a long time coming for development in that plaza. So this development is a sister development with the residential complex right in back of it. So to give you guys a frame of reference, you see Big Al's right here, Big Al's Furniture, and also the Hobby Lobby. So this apartment complex is proposed to go in back of that location where we currently have the driving range, which has been neglected for some time. I don't even know if you guys were aware that there was a driving range in back of this development, but there was. So what they're proposing as well is that arrow. So the arrow is where the developer is planning to cut out. So this is the entire retail strip, right? So you have Hobby Lobby, Big Al's, but right in the corner here is where the developer will cut out a breezeway that will lead directly to the apartment complex. The apartments are grade A apartments, and the rent will be market rent. I think is starting at $1,200. It will be amenity. They will offer amenities that will include fire pit, dog park. There'll also be apartments and townhouses. So there's also an opportunity for home ownership at this development as well. So we're really excited. And if you guys have any recommendations or suggestions of what you would like to see, just drop me an email and we can kind of flush that out with the developer. So we're really excited about that particular development. Now, if you guys had an opportunity to join on the Mableton Improvement Coalition had a community meeting some months ago, and we met with the developer for this particular development. And if you are familiar with the Eddy on Riverview Road, are you guys familiar with the Eddy at Riverview Road? That's where we have Chattahoochee Coffee and Champion Barbecue. Well, this is the same developer. And he's wanting to, and actually he filed an application to develop this building in downtown Mableton. And that location will be across the street from the Kroger, right in back of the new Wendy's. And I believe there's a storage unit over there as well in the Regions Bank. So this will sit in back of that complex. Now, also, what I label this as is residential luxury flats, because what I'm finding is, and it's not just in District 4, but it's county-wide, it seems, that when we use the word apartments, for some reason that word has become synonymous with crime, with unsavory behavior and things of the sort. So I really want us to kind of start thinking differently about apartments, because when, I think about apartments in Buckhead or downtown, I don't think of crime. I don't think of unsavory behavior. So we need to, kind of start changing our mindset as it relates to some of these developments. Now, with this development, much like the Eddy, there will be luxury upgrades. Each unit will have a washer and dryer. This will also be at market rent, I believe at saying about $1,200 or $1,300 for one bedroom. It will have a dog park. It will have a bike station. But one of the greater assets about this location is just like maybe not even a quarter mile from the Silver Comet Trail near the bike shop. So we're really looking forward to that development. Now let's swing a little bit over to Powder Springs. So on Powder Springs Road, we just approved, actually this week, just a couple of days, yesterday, we approved an application for a farmer's market on Powder Springs Road in Hopkins. Now, interestingly, that parcel on the corner is the only parcel that's an unincorporated Cobb, and it's surrounded by a sea of unincorporated Powder Springs, excuse me. And it's surrounded by a sea of the city of Powder Springs. So it was a lot of negotiations with the city of Powder Springs, but we finally got everything worked out, and we're really excited because there's a lot of development that's going on in Powder Springs, and I've been getting quite a few emails about it, but I want people to also understand that a lot of the development that's going on in Powder Springs is sparked by the city of Powder Springs, which is not in unincorporated Cobb. So a lot of that development and those issues obviously would need to be taken up with Mayor Thurman and not Cobb County, unincorporated Cobb. But it's great. But right across the street from this location, there is a huge community that's being built. I think there are two. So there's quite a bit going on in Powder Springs. So I think that this would be a perfect addition to the new development that we have going on along that strip. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the progress of some construction reports. And we have DOT here if you guys have any questions that you want to follow up with. But let's just kind of run through this kind of quickly. So we have some sidewalk and improvement projects. Discovery Boulevard. So on Discovery Boulevard between Veterans Memorial and Mableton Parkway, there is 5 feet of sidewalk that will be, that has been poured, that will lead from the new park to Veterans Memorial. That way, the residents that live at the Legacy of Riverline or anywhere on that side can just simply walk to the park without there being any sidewalk gaps. So the county has been very instrumental in ensuring that when we choose or select sidewalks, that our priority should be to those areas where we have sidewalk gaps, which makes perfect sense. So that's that project there. And the completion date is that it's been completed. And you guys, DOT is right over there. So let's give them a hand. Thank you guys. They worked tirelessly. You guys just wouldn't believe it. Okay, so we have that. Then we have factory shows at Mableton Parkway. So this project was part of a school zone improvement with the new Harmony Leland School along factory shows. And their scheduled completion is in June of 2021. And this project is in 2 phases. So there will also be a turning lane from Mableton Parkway onto factory shows. Factory shows in Riverside Parkway. I believe this one is also complete. Is this one complete, Erica and Drew? This one is also completed. Okay. So factory shows in Riverside Parkway, and the upgrade there included a new traffic signal, pedestrian improvements, and also a right turn lane. And that's been completed. Thank you guys very much. Hicks Road in Concord. Oh boy. So we know that this intersection is a very, very busy and tight intersection. And I'll tell you, if you had a chance to drive by there, like in the past week or so, you might have seen a yellow zoning sign. And that's because we received an application for development right there on at that location. So, you know, we have every month meetings, zoning meetings, which we'll talk about a little later on. But when we have those signs going up in the community, I strongly encourage everyone to participate in the conversation, because what we find happen at the Board of Commissioners meeting is that people come in the day of, which they're perfectly entitled to do, but at that point, you're not allowing yourself the time to research the development, to talk with the commissioner, to talk with the planning commissioner, to talk with the development. And in all honesty, a lot of people come to the meetings angry, but that anger is because either they're misinformed or they don't have all of the information that's available to make an informed decision. But I encourage you guys to be a part of that process. So at Hicks Road and Concord, there's a turn lane addition, sidewalk addition, signal traffic signal modification, and drainage improvements. And that project is also scheduled to be completed on June 30th of 2021. Mableton Parkway, Veterans Memorial to Nicholas Drive, again, just some additional improvements that will include a 10-wide trail, and that will run from Factory Shoals to Discovery. Is that correct? DOT? Yeah. Okay. It will run from Factory Shoals Boulevard all the way down to Discovery Boulevard, and this is in Mableton. And it will also include on the other side of the street a 5-foot wide sidewalk. We'll also have signal upgrades, curb and gutter, and that scheduled completion is January of 2023. And also another thing to note, there's also been another development application that was approved a couple of months ago. So we will have a new subdivision to the community on Mableton Parkway on the corner of South Gordon. So there's a lot of, again, as I mentioned at the top of my presentation, there's a lot of interest in District 4 that's being piqued, and the developers are biting, and we want them to bite. Okay, Riverview Road. So Riverview Road, there's an alignment from Veterans Memorial up to Nichols Drive, and I think that's the border or the street where it turns into the city of Smyrna. It looks pretty much complete, but it's scheduled to be completed in January of 2023. Is that correct? Pardon? That's the schedule, but I see Erica shaking her head no. Riverview Road. But you know, the truth of the matter is that one looks like it's near completion, but there's obviously still some work that needs to be done there. But the projected completion date is in January of 2023. That seems a little far off from what it's looking like, the work that's left. But anyhow, we'll. Yeah, July sounds a little bit more realistic because it's really not much work to be done. If you guys are familiar, I'm talking about the corner of Veterans Memorial in Riverview. Also, the South Cobb Regional Library. As we know, this is a location where we had, it was one of our early voting locations, and there was some challenges for the last election. And during those challenges, we discovered that we need to replace our plumbing. And I see staff over there smiling and shaking. So that was discovered, which was a good thing. So we will have our plumbing repaired. But I said, hey, you know what? While we're doing that, why don't we just go ahead and renovate the bathrooms while we're at it? So that's what we're working on now. We're going to renovate the bathroom, which I think we had in the budget for the 2022 SPLOS, but we're going to try and go ahead and push that push that through now when we have the plumbing fixed. I mean, it just makes sense. Once we get the plumbing, we can just go ahead and have the upgrade. So the planning for the renovation, if you guys have ever visited the Sewell Mill Library, if you're familiar with that library, then that's the bathroom that we're pushing for over at the South Cobb Regional Library. Also, what's in the 2022 SPLOST is the cleaning of our detention pond or retention pond. Now, if you guys have been to the library, you probably have passed it, not realizing that that's what it is because it's so overgrown by trees. But we're going to have that also cleaned out, Sharon. I see you smiling. But we're also planning to have that cleaned out by this year as well. So I'm really happy to know that we're pushing those things forward. So I'm a little over my time. Okay, just a couple of community events that's coming up. We have our Blue Talk Cobb County Precinct Community Virtual Forum, and it's a collaboration with some of our civic groups and the police officers. And I'm really hoping that you guys can join in. You can send, oh, I took the email address. What is the email address, Ray? Okay, so if you would like to attend the meeting tomorrow, then you send an email to chair@mableton.org. And we're expecting it to be a very candid conversation between community and law enforcement. So I think this initiative is pushing us in the right direction to really have our law enforcement and our community to bridge some gaps and to further understand, each other's point of view as we move forward, and trying to have a more safe and secure community. So I'm hoping that you all can join them tomorrow. So a lot of what we do is sparked by our civic organizations, and this is not coming up, okay. It's sparked by our civic organizations, and I know that we have some representatives in here tonight from each of those organizations, but I just want to send a special thanks or give a special thanks to the Austell Community Task Force, also our Powder Springs Community Task Force, and our Mableton Improvement Coalition. And with our civic organizations, much like HOA, Keep Cobb Beautiful, these organizations are ran by volunteers. And there's so much that goes into these organizations, so much information that's gathered. They put in their time, their energy, and in most cases, their own resources so that they can present information to the community. So they can police zoning cases at the Board of Commissioners meeting or even at the Planning Commissioners meeting. They have annual backpack drives where they can serve some of the more vulnerable in our community. And these people are out here in the community. They're not looking for credit. They're not looking for fanfare. But what they are looking for is membership. So if you're interested in joining any of these organizations, the contact information is here on the screen, and I'll just leave that up. This is the last slide and that I have for my presentation, and I want to kind of keep things moving because we still have 2 more presentations, and I'd like to respect everyone's time tonight. So at this point, we will have Kimberly White to come up with Keep Cobb Beautiful.
Okay, can everybody hear me? Okay, perfect. Okay, so I'm Kimberly White. I'm the director of Keep Cobb Beautiful. And I'd just like to take this time one more time to give a round of applause to the 2 people in the audience who are my, actually Barry Krebs is our board chair and Jeff Padgett is on our board as well. And they are awesome. I don't know about the other boards, but I have the best board members. Okay, so, okay, is this better? Okay, good. Okay, so listen, if you guys know me, I can stand up here and talk like all night about recycling and sustainability and the environment, but I won't do that to you today. Okay, so Keep Cobb Beautiful, we are a hybrid organization, actually. That means that myself and all my staff members, we are Cobb County government employees, and then we have a board, a nonprofit board of directors. And we also, Keep Cobb Beautiful sits inside of the Sustainability, Waste, and Beautification Department and inside of our Public Services Agency. Not moving forward. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we focus on three main areas. That would be litter prevention, community greening, and then waste reduction and recycling. These are our programs at a glance. We do a lot in the community. If you don't know much about us, you probably know that we do the Adopt a Mile program. That's probably what we're best known for, but we do all of these programs as well. In District 4, we have one of what we call our Americorps Vista Gardens. We have an Americorps Vista program that stands for Volunteers in Service to America. We have a young lady who's been with us for the past year, and she identifies pockets of food insecurity zones. And we plant gardens in those communities. We teach the people who live in the community how to care for the gardens, and then they have access to fresh fruits and vegetables within walking distance of where they live for free. So this is one of the gardens, and it's in Austell. And we have some raised beds out there that we're planting. This is a picture to the left. And then also the picture to the right is where we do tree plantings every year, usually in public spaces, in parks, and at schools. We also do waste reduction and recycling. So we have a lot of events, right? So we have one coming up actually this Saturday. It's a Textile Collection event. And we are also collecting hard to recycle plastics, like the Hefty energy bag material. And if you could go to our website, keepcobbbeautiful.org, to get more information there. But that event's going to take place over at Argyle Elementary on Saturday from 9 to 1. We also educate the community about curbside recycling, which most residents in Cobb County have the option to do curbside recycling with your hauler. But if not, you could always contact us. We also have drop-off locations spread out throughout Cobb County. And actually, that's a picture of one of them, the drop-off locations right there to the right. And those are some bins. And we've got the one in District 4 is at the Government Center that's on Austell Road. We also have a program called the Hefty Energy Bag Program. This program I'm super excited about. Cobb County was only one of 2 locations that received the program. The other location was in Boise, Idaho. We're taking plastics that are hard to recycle, things like shopping bags, straws, lids, polystyrene cups, like the kind of styrofoam cups you get from the fast food places. We're able to take those plastics, turn them into either diesel fuel, oil, wax. We even are able to turn them into an aggregate that we make building blocks out of. We actually have some of those building blocks in Cobb County, and we will be making a demonstration recycling building using them. So I'm so excited about that program, and I hope you guys are excited too. Okay, so let's talk about litter, right? Because we get a lot of phone calls about litter at Keep Cobb Beautiful. So the sources of where litter comes from, the majority of litter actually comes from cars, motorists. And then we have a big chunk that also comes from pedestrians walking to and from, populated areas. What does this mean for us in our communities? Well, the breakdown of direct cost of litter in the communities. Overwhelmingly, as you can see on the slide, businesses are affected overwhelmingly by litter. Of course, so are residents. Property values decrease when there's a lot of presence of litter. And then quality of life issues as well, right? So you want to make sure that where you live and where you work and where you play is a clean environment, because that matters and it's important. So this is a map of Cobb County. This is a litter heat map that I was able to actually get from DOT. Thank you, DOT. So these are all the areas where we get reports of litter in the community. So as you can see, this map is, this area pretty much covers the entire county. This is the Keep Cobb Beautiful Litter Index Survey map. This is a survey that we're required to do as a part of the Keep America Beautiful affiliate network. So every year we go out and we drive these routes, and then we score the county based off of a number of things, litter being the top, but also pedestrian safety, curbsides, bus stops, if we see litter at bus stops. So every year we always ask for volunteers. Obviously, COVID-19 stopped us from doing that this past year. But each year we usually have people in the community come out and help us with this. So if you're interested in participating and helping, and you're comfortable with doing that, please feel free to reach out to us at Keep Cobb Beautiful. We'll be getting volunteers ready to do this summer again. These are our Adopt a Mile groups. So as you can see, all of these lines cover our Adopt a Mile locations. Okay, so as you can see, there's a cluster of them really in the areas that have, the heat map, you can see where it's the most litter. And then also along those routes as well, you see a lot of the Adopt a Mile groups. So what are we going to do about it? We have some litter prevention activities. As you can see, the picture to the left, this is a picture over in District 4, actually, during the MLK Day celebration, yes. But, it's kind of like the day we give back. And Commissioner Sheffield, thank you. She came out with our Keep Cobb Beautiful team. A bunch of people came out and helped clean up in District 4. And then we also have a new program that we'd like to start. This is what we're calling surveillance. So what will happen is we will have some cameras and these signs placed at our Adopt a Mile locations so that our code enforcement team can help us identify who is actually littering on our streets, who's throwing out this litter on our streets, causing us these problems. We also have some other prevention activities. We have something that we call the Great American Cleanup. It's happening right now. We give out supplies, t-shirts, pickup sticks, bags, vests, gloves, masks, for PPE. We give out a bunch of stuff for you guys to go out and participate and help do cleanups in the community. If you would like to participate, this goes through the end of June, but actually you can always contact us and get supplies to do a cleanup. We're never going to turn you down for that. So you can, give us a call or send us an email and we'll get you set up with some supplies. How else can you get involved? You can adopt a mile, right? So there are a lot of miles in Cobb County, and we have right now about 160 Adopt a Mile groups, okay? But we could always use more. So if you're sitting in the audience or if you're watching right now virtually and you want to participate, you want to know how to get involved, reach out to us and we can definitely get you set up so that you could, get your own Adopt a Mile sign and have your own Adopt a Mile group. How else do you get involved? A lot of times people are confused about who they should call when they see litter or certain types of litter. So I think this was a really great slide. So you might want to snap a picture of this one. If it is just regular litter, small pieces of litter on the sides of the roadway, you want to participate or get an Adopt a Mile group going, you would contact us, Keep Cobb Beautiful, okay? If it is litter or illegal yard signs or something, it's on private property or on a business, private property, you want to call code enforcement. If there are illegal dump sites, large pieces of furniture, large truck tires, large littered items, TVs or something like that, you want to contact Cobb DOT, okay? And if it's litter on a state route, I know this could be kind of difficult because you're not going to really know just by driving down the road if something is a state route or not, but if it is litter on a state route, you can contact Georgia DOT because they are the ones that are responsible for getting that particular litter up. Okay, how else can you participate? You can join the Great Litter Challenge. Okay, so right now I'm just scanning the room. I don't know how many people are on the virtual session, but when I leave here this evening and make it home, I expect to see at least 50 more signatures on our litter pledge. So what you can do is you can go to our website and you can sign the litter pledge. It's super easy. You just sign it. And what you're saying is you pledge to try to keep Cobb County clean. Participate when you can by, doing a litter pickup or recycling and putting waste where it belongs. Then we send you a free gift. And you could take a picture of yourself and send it back. We'll put you all on social media and on our website. Get your 15 minutes of fame here. And you could be a part of our hashtag Cobb Clean Block initiative. And we're trying to get to 20,000 signatures by June 20th. So I want everybody in the room to help out. Even thank you, officers up there in the back of the room. Y'all going to sign our pledge? Yes. Okay, way to go. All right, how else can you get involved? This is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. We have a Textile Collection event taking place in Smyrna this Saturday. And we're taking a bunch of things: clothing, shoes, books, old tools, or if you have small appliances that still work, we're taking that. It's going to a really great cause with the American Kidney Services. So they help people get back and forth to their dialysis appointments and help them with their co-pays. Okay, any questions for me? Yes. Yes, that's really great. Actually, glass is a great commodity to recycle. It can be recycled an infinite amount of times. It's just that it contaminates other things and other things contaminate it. So you must drop them off. The drop-off locations for glass in Cobb County are across the street from our office, actually, at the West Rock Convenience Facility. It's 1775 County Services Parkway. You could also drop it off at the City of Smyrna. Their Smyrna Recycling Center will also take glass. And also the City of Kennesaw, they'll take glass as well. But you can go to our website to see where all of that information is. That's a great question, because please don't place glass in your regular recycling bin. It causes havoc for the MRF, which is, by the way, acronym for Material Recovery Facility, just so you guys know. You guys can go home and tell all your family you know what a MRF is. Any other questions? Yes. Yes, it's a bottle bill. And out of the 50 states, only 11 of them participate in it. It's very political. And you will probably have to speak to state representatives to try to get something like that passed. But I can tell you that there's not been much, push, I guess, or for something like that here in Georgia. Yeah, no. Mm-mm. Yeah, you're helping the environment by recycling them. That's something. Yes.
For those of us who have adopted a mile, is there any way we can be some type of a monthly or even quarterly meeting so we can discuss issues? When you brought up the surveillance cameras, I was like, oh my goodness, those are the kind of things that I would like to know about, and I think other doctors might want to know about. So is there any way we can have like a quarterly, monthly meeting, maybe like Zoom, just to discuss issues?
Yes. Okay. So yes. So our Dawn Smith in our office, who I'm sure you talk to, because if you do adopt a mile, she's the person that you speak with. She will be starting, I believe they're monthly calls, and she'll probably reach out to you pretty soon. So that's really exciting stuff. And then we can get some new ideas from the Adopt a Mile group members. So thank you. Yes.
I was asking if you have thought about putting those cameras at the no dumping signs, because sometimes people have a sense of humor, I guess, and they'll put like mattresses and furniture right in front of those no dumping signs.
Yeah. So let me tell you about the no dumping signs. I don't even know how much time I have left. I'm sorry. Okay. So the no dumping signs. There's been a lot of research done about those signs. Keep America Beautiful, Waste Zero. You could just name all the people out there that focus on litter and those type of signs. Those signs actually typically don't work. I know most people don't believe me. They think that they do. They really don't. Because here's what happens. You put a sign there, you tell them to not dump or don't litter, and that you're going to fine them $1,000 for littering. And then there's no possible way that someone could sit there at the precise moment that somebody litters in front of that sign. And then when someone else drives past that and they see the litter on the ground in front of the sign that says, if you litter, we're going to fine you $1,000, it's basically sending a message to the community that, no one's paying attention. So that's the reason why all of us, there's about 650 of us spread out all over the United States, and we're all called Keep Something Beautiful. That's the reason, because it's a sign of affirmation. So our Adopt a Mile signs that have our names on them and consistent cleanups at that spot is what has been found to actually be effective and work.
But just Kimberly, I think for further clarification, I think the question is, can we have cameras installed at those locations so we can try and catch those offenders?
We can look at installing cameras at those locations. I mean, we were wanting to start with our Adopt a Mile locations just because those are the areas that people frequent and they clean up. And a lot of times the Adopt a Mile locations do correspond with areas that have, do not litter here, or, no illegal dumping here. So yes, we can. Yes, sir.
That is, wait till he gets the mic here. Is there any way you guys can verify, or perhaps you can this evening, exactly what happens to the items that we put in our home recycle bins that are picked up by various trash companies? Do we know for a fact that those are being recycled and not dumped?
Yes, that's a great question. Yes, we do. So the haulers that participate in recycling in Cobb County, the majority of them, not all of them, but the majority of them take their material to the MRF that's across the street from our office. And from there, we do get reports on how much material is dropped off and where the material goes. In Georgia, we have what we call an integrated system. So there are a lot of companies here that accept that material in, and we have what we call paper mills. We make in Georgia Amazon boxes, McDonald's Big Mac boxes, UPS boxes. We make all of those boxes here in the state of Georgia. Those companies get that material in and they send it directly to their paper mills. We also are the carpet capital of the world. About 85% of the carpet that's laid all over the world comes from Dalton, Georgia. We have such a need to collect PET water bottles. That's like plastic number one, that we can't even collect it all here in Georgia. They are importing PET water bottles from other places just to be able to make carpet. So yes, we do recycle the material that is collected. Absolutely. Yes.
Yes, good evening. I was curious, with the Adopt a Mile program, how often does one monitor to see if these organizations are actually adopting this mile? Because our community, I'm with the HOA, we volunteer and we pick up the trash on Riverview Road because, we still see acorns out there from the fall in terms of the street, and then we see trash. So, we just wondered, and they asked me to ask the question specifically about the trash pickup. It's just all over, and it's an entryway into our community. And we definitely want our community to be beautiful all over. So we were curious about that sign. Is it actually working, or, what should we do about it?
Okay, so are you saying that your community, your HOA has an Adopt a Mile?
No, I'm saying there is a sign
Okay.
that says Adopt a Mile, and it's been there for 16 years. And the trash is just littered up and down Riverview Road. And now we know it's a highly trafficked road. Your data spoke to that. Cars go through there. But no one's picking up the trash except our volunteers in our community.
Okay.
We go out because it enters our community. So we were just concerned about, is it actually working when you have that sign up if the Adopt a Mile entity is not picking it up?
So to be an Adopt a Mile group member, you're required to do a cleanup once per quarter. But most of our Adopt a Mile group members do their cleanups much more often than that. On a side note, I'll ask you for your information because I'd like to know the name that's on the sign. To answer your question, we do keep a record of all of our Adopt a Mile groups. And if we see inactivity, we will pull the sign and we will look for another group in that community to be able to take over that area. And we pull signs all the time. I'm sure DOT is probably not the happiest with us when we pull these signs because they got to go out and get them. But, you know, we pull signs. Thank you.
You mentioned that you lived on Riverview Road. On which end of Riverview? Because part of that is Smyrna, so we may need to contact. Okay, good. Okay.
Grown.
Okay.
And the folk who are wanting to walk, there are lots of people who are walking now from Riverview to the upper side of South Cobb, and they're just asking the questions, why is it that the grass is all the way to the middle of the highway, almost to the street, and grass is growing up all on the sidewalks, so you really are walking on grass that used to be a sidewalk, but once you cross over the Chattahoochee on the Atlanta side, it's pristine, even with the new highway. But from 285, it's nothing but potholes. It's bumpy, bumpy, bumpy. And we know we're with another group, which is the industrial, which was there first. So we can appreciate that.
Okay.
But it definitely has a different, you know, non-pristine environment. And we
We'll
really
take
want
care
it to
of it.
look beautiful.
We'll make sure we get your information so we can follow up with you directly. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. But before you step down, I wanted you to touch briefly on what our long-term goals are as it relates to tackling litter, because Cobb County is huge. We're at 785,000 residents, and you know, as many of you may know or may not know, staff is very slim, and it's but so far we can stretch, and but we can have our volunteers out picking up trash. So my concern is, as the county continues to grow in population, unfortunately, so will the trash and litter. So if you can just talk a little bit about what the future plans are that you presented to the board a few weeks ago, just briefly touch on that for us.
Okay, so briefly, if you had the opportunity to see the session that we presented to the Board of Commissioners, then you know this will be old news for you. But if you have not, then what we are wanting to do is, one, identify, you know, where waste is going and what kind of waste do we have. So we're looking at wanting to do a waste characterization study that's simply just allowing us to see what kind of waste do we actually have here in Cobb County, and how can we use it for it to benefit us economically in a better way. So right now, as you and I don't have the slide here, but we have some, you know, data just across the U.S. in general, you know, what the waste stream is made up of. So a lot of times the waste stream is made up of paper and plastic, about 60% of it. And so those things are highly recyclable. We're also looking to we did ask for additional staff. We are a very small team, and we have our you know, board of directors with us, and they're volunteers and they help out, but you know, we definitely could use more resources for sure. We're also looking to, one of my ideas that I thought would be really helpful for Cobb County would be to have a eco-innovator incubator. So basically what we're looking for are businesses that are focused on eco-friendly products and services to come to Cobb County and be headquartered here. I think that, you know, we definitely, thank you. I think that, you know, I know that this is something that we can do, and to be able to focus on that and really promote that in Cobb County, you know, it will be beneficial for us for sure in the long term. We also are looking to continue to grow our Adopt a Mile program, although we do realize that the Adopt a Mile program is limited because there are volunteers, but also working with the youth. So have a youth component to that and help them. I know a lot of high schoolers have to get so many volunteer hours in before they graduate. So being able to open up that opportunity for them to come out and help us as well. So there's a lot kind of coming down the pipeline that we're looking to do to really make a difference, you know, in Cobb County as far as the recycling and environmental concerns are. Thank you.
Okay, we're preparing for our final speaker. Some of you might have had the opportunity to join some of the town halls for transportation. And as I mentioned a short while ago, the county is growing. So with that, we also need to have transportation options. And that's what we're going to talk about with this segment. So I'll just allow you to just go ahead and get started. Do you want me to leave?
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, excellent. Can't actually see, so I think I'll stick over here. Okay. My name is Christina Pastor. I am a consultant that was hired by Cobb County to help you all work through your transportation plan. So we want to be able to give you a little bit of an overview tonight of where we are in the plan. We are in the recommendations phase, and we are in the process of gathering input from the community right now. So what I want to first do is maybe start at the very beginning. For those of you, just out of curiosity, back in 2019, we did some outreach at the beginning of the plan. Was anybody able to attend that meeting, any of those meetings? Excellent, we've got some hands, lovely. Okay, well, a little bit of this will be review for you, but for the good of the group, we'll talk about the whole thing. So first of all, what is a comprehensive transportation plan? It's an opportunity to build, first of all, on the work and the good planning that Cobb has been doing for many years prior to this. So we're taking into account a lot of those different projects that have come in, and then we're adding our own technical analysis, a lot of mapping and data, and then we're coming out to the community to get information from you as well. So when we put all of that together, we're able to develop what is called Cobb Forward. It's the specific CTP for Cobb. But coming out of that, some of the important things to keep in mind is that we're identifying projects that can be potentially funded through local funding options, and we'll talk about those. But also we can find regionally significant projects that we can suggest to the regional planning agencies for consideration for state and federal funding as well. So to be able to leverage your local dollars to be able to get more money using good taxpayer dollars. At the very beginning of the plan, we developed some early goals to help guide the process. I'm not going to talk through each of these later on, but we use these goals to help guide the direction of the plan. And so when we start evaluating projects, we actually create metrics that we score those projects and make sure that the projects that we're selecting reflect the goals from the beginning of the plan. I'm getting a power. Is that showing up on the screen over there? Or is it just on my screen? Okay. Well, I'm getting notices over here, but as long as you guys aren't seeing it, I guess we're good. Oh, no. I can't do anything. IT support. Oh, please. It's asking me to log. Wait, hold on. There we go. There we go. Okay. I have solved the problem. Okay. Thank you. It was asking me to log into things. Okay. So there are some things I can do. Transportation I can do. IT I cannot. So we started the planning process back in 2019. The very first thing that we did was determine what are our existing conditions. How are people traveling today? What is the condition of the infrastructure so that we know where we start as our baseline? From there, we develop needs based on where we think we are, what are our gaps today, and in 30 years, what are our gaps going to be? And we do that in that combination of technical analysis and input from the community. The majority of the plan then has been focused on developing projects and policies that help to address those needs. And we're going to talk a lot about those tonight. So what you can see here, we developed a universe of projects, building on all of those previous planning efforts and then adding to it from all different sorts of places. And we developed what's called a universe of projects. That's broken down into 3 categories. The first is surface transportation, and we use that word a lot, so just that phrase. So you know it basically breaks down into 2 categories. First is roadway projects, anything from larger corridor or intersection or interchange projects, all the way down to smaller intersection or safety improvements. And then we also have active transportation projects, so bicycle and pedestrian and trail projects. So those are surface transportation. Then we have our transit projects, and those may include all of the routes, but it also includes the stations, the park and ride facilities, the transfer centers, and all of the maintenance that needs to go into it. And then the third category, we're calling other. And really what it means is that as we're doing our financial planning, we need to make sure that we're setting aside funds for some of these other categories. So as a part of the CTP, we are not determining which roads need to be resurfaced. The county is already working on that. But as we're doing our financial planning, we need to make sure that we're setting aside enough funding for the county to continue to maintain its facilities, because we know that that is a critical baseline before we add new projects. Now, I mentioned our universe of projects. You can see those at the very top, but as probably with your own personal budgeting, we know that our needs and our wants usually outweigh the amount of money that we have to spend on them. And that's the same here with transportation. So what we need to do is filter our projects down. I mentioned we use those goals that I talked about at the very beginning of the plan to evaluate all of those projects, determine which ones are going to give us the best return on investment, and then be able to find those priorities. And then we determine how much money we think we have to actually be able to spend on them. And that helps us to get to a financially constrained set of projects. So as Cobb County residents, I'm sure that you are familiar with the concept of SPLOST, Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax. There is a current countywide SPLOST, and it covers services like libraries and parks, fire and police, and then some transportation, including things like resurfacing roads, safety and operational improvements, and some sidewalks. The current sales tax rate in Cobb is 6%. So just as a very, very simple math calculation, if you buy a $1 drink with the sales tax, it's going to cost you $1.06. So we'll talk about why that's important in just a second. Now, we are considering, as a part of our financial planning for the next 30 years for this plan, we're considering some of the existing local funding sources as well as some new opportunities. Now, we are also taking into account additional funding, state and federal opportunities as well, but we're going to focus the conversation on local funding opportunities. So currently, as I mentioned, there's the countywide SPLOST, and transportation gets some of that money. There's also the general fund, which that funding helps to keep the transit system up and operational. Those are our existing local funding sources. Beyond that, we have some two new potential funding sources that we're able to consider. They're being grouped together and called the mobility SPLOSTs together, but technically they're actually two separate potential referenda. The first is for surface transportation, roadway, bike, ped, and trail, and that is referred to as House Bill 170 or HB 170. The county can consider a referendum that they would bring out to the public for up to 1% for up to 5 years. And then anything above that 5 years, they would have to come back for with a new referendum. On the other hand is the transit referendum, and that is House Bill 930. And what that is up to 1% for up to 30 years. And the reason that that is so much longer is the Federal Transit Administration wants to be able to see that not only can you build a transit system, but you have the ability to maintain it. Because, building a rail line is great, but if you can't run the train, it doesn't really do much good. So they want to see long-term local funding to be able to keep that system up and operational. So these are two different referenda that the county has the ability to consider in the next year or so. So why are we here today? We want to be able to give the community an update on the CTP, to outline possible options for those new funding sources. We want to be able to suggest potential projects for both surface transportation and transit. And we want to be able to request feedback from the community for high priority projects and corridors, to get your understanding of investment in different project types, and then to be able to consider those new funding options and to get your feedback there. So I'm going to highlight really quickly some of the projects. We do have boards outside, and so if you haven't had a chance to take a look at those, you can definitely check them out there. And of course, all of this information will be provided online as well. So on the surface transportation side, we've decided to put together a list of potential projects for up to 1 penny or 1% for up to 30 years for the horizon of our planning study. So what you see here are the potentially proposed projects. The ones that are shown in green are all of the active transportation, bicycle, pedestrian projects. And then the ones that are shown in yellow are roadway projects. So you can see, based on total cost of the projects, the mix is about 22% for active transportation and 78% for roadway. Part of that has to do with the fact that just the cost of roadway projects tends to be much greater than those of active transportation. But if you look at the cost, now these are the cost to Cobb specifically. not to the cities or the CIDs, and not to the state or federal government. But the assumption here is that you can see it's about $1.2 billion worth of roadway projects, about $340 million worth of bicycle and trail projects. And then separately, you'll see there are not specific sidewalk projects that are identified here. We have a funding set aside and a different prioritization process for sidewalks, but that captures about $180 million worth of sidewalk projects. Now, this is a 30-year time frame, and this assumes that we would have an entire 1% for that entire time. So all of these assumptions are probably a little bit aspirational, and that's really why we need the public to give us their feedback on what you would like to see. So when we look at that slate of projects for surface transportation, you can see it's really important that we consider metrics, and we're looking at how are these projects performing. So what you can see here, just a couple of stats I want to highlight. Of the projects that were shown there, 36% of them are within a quarter of a mile of an activity center. So really helping people to access those activity centers and to be able to move about within them. About 35% of the projects are in areas where we have a high percentage of households that are in poverty. So equity and being able to serve the community and the members of the community that really need it the most is really important. You're all looking at me like I lost my mic. Is it better? Okay, everybody just started looking around. And then finally, 42% of the projects are in areas where we have high minority populations within the county. So we're really focused on trying to make sure that we have a really good distribution of projects and that we're serving some of the communities that really need some of these projects the most. Okay, now I'm going to talk a little bit about transit. So when we talk about transit, we have a number of different modes that we could potentially talk about. What I want to do is just briefly hit on each of these. The ones that are on the far left side of the screen are our most high capacity transit projects. So those are going to be ones that move the most people the fastest, and they're also the most expensive. So you can see on the far left at the top is heavy rail transit. If you're familiar with the existing MARTA rail system, that's what we're talking about. It's powered by a third rail at the bottom, which means it's not safe for people to cross. So they're always they're completely separated. So at no point in time can you actually cross the tracks. But it means there's nothing in its way. So it can move very quickly and move lots of people. But it is the most expensive of all the modes that we're looking at. Light rail transit is the step down. We have the ability to provide power overhead so that you can actually run it in the street instead of completely separated. It's got its own lane. It's got really nice stations, but it is a rail system with overhead power. The next step down is bus rapid transit. We're going to talk a little bit about bus rapid transit tonight specifically. That is very much like a light rail system, only on rubber tire, which also means that it is a lot less expensive to be able to deliver from a light rail system, but it operates very much the same way. Still largely running in its own separate lane, not mixing with traffic. It gets special signal priority, nice stations. You can get your ticket before you board. So that's a bus rapid transit system. Arterial rapid transit is the next step down. It's mostly running in mixed traffic, but might have some special treatments at intersections to get it out from behind the congestion. Local bus you're familiar with. CobbLink currently operates a local bus system. And then microtransit is for areas where we might not have enough demand to operate a regular fixed route over and over on a daily basis. But it's an on-demand system where people can call in or go online and say, I need to get from this point to this point, and a ride will come and pick you up and take you to your destination within that zone or connect you into the larger transit system. The last three are commuter-focused routes or modes. The top one is commuter rail. We have looked at commuter rail. There are a number of freight corridors that are currently existing. Usually commuter rail runs either in existing freight corridors or formerly active freight corridors. What that means is that we're usually having to work closely with the freight companies, the rail companies that are running those lines, and don't have the ability to control our own destiny. We do think that there are some great opportunities within the state of Georgia and in Metro Atlanta to consider this, and even within Cobb, but we think it's a much larger regional and statewide conversation. So the recommendations that you will see don't include any commuter rail, but it doesn't mean that we don't think that those conversations shouldn't be happening at a state and a regional level. And then we have Commuter Bus. Cobb currently has a commuter system as well as the Greta ATL Express system. And then finally, Vanpool is for where we don't have enough demand to really keep everything, to really run a commuter bus. But if we have people who have the same origin and destination, their home and work location, we can help to subsidize a van pool program for them. So that's just a little bit of a transit mode 101. Now, when we go through and we're building a transit network, there's a lot of technical analysis that goes into it. We look to see where are people traveling today, but even more importantly, where are people going to be traveling 30 years from now? What is the existing system? How is it operating today? Where are some places where we can make improvements? And then what are those major activity nodes that we need to be connecting both within the county and in the rest of the region? We also know that there are different populations of people that are more inclined to take transit than others. And so we need to understand who those people are and how we can best serve them. Now, we built, with all of the work and looking at all of the major travel, we looked at and determined 9 priority corridors that are represented by those arrows. And basically what that is that's the backbone of the network. Those are the major demand corridors and the major connection points that people need to be making. We also recognize that depending on the amount of funding available, this is a scalable investment. For some, it might be a little bit higher quality service if we have more money, but we might need to scale it back a little bit more. But we see this as really the backbone and framework for the future. Now, when we map that out onto the roadway network, what you can see is those arrows have now been mapped out onto corridors. Now, these exact corridors have not been finalized. This is just where we are in the current planning process. As each of these would move forward, a more detailed corridor analysis would need to be done. But what you can see is those high priority corridors are now those dark red lines. This plan assumes if we were able to do a full 1% sales tax for up to that 30-year time frame, this is what we could do. Those red lines basically represent all bus rapid transit. And you can see those connections. Some of them are obviously within Cobb, but some of them are connecting up to the perimeter area, down into Midtown. The one that it runs along Atlanta Road ties into an existing MARTA bus line, and then the connection along 20 into H.E. Holmes. So all of those would be high quality bus rapid transit lines that would then tie into the rest of the system. Those purple lines that you see are more of the supportive network that includes our local bus, the commuter buses, and then you can see those larger zones, those purple oval shapes. Those represent the microtransit zones, the places where we might not have a regular fixed route service, but we can support that on demand where people can call in or go online and be able to ask for a ride within that zone or tying into the system. Now, what you don't see, there's also a number of other supportive pieces that are included in this. And that includes things like technology upgrades, especially as time goes on. We might have autonomous vehicles, autonomous buses that are driving. We'll have better technology for the users of the system, so you know exactly where your bus is. Some of that exists today. There's also investment for first and last mile access. It's great to have a transit station, but if somebody can't get there on a sidewalk or a trail, it doesn't do people much good. So there's also money built in here, funding built in, to be able to provide that first and last mile access. So there's a lot of other things that don't show up in a two-dimensional map that are assumed here for transit. So just looking very quickly at some of those statistics compared to existing service today, it captures about 340% increase in transit service hours relative to today. It's 100 miles of priority corridors. And when you consider walking distance to transit, so that's either what we're saying here is a quarter of a mile to any of those lines, and then also within those purple zones, 75% of the jobs and 70% of the residents within the county have access to transit. So now I just want to ask one more. Almost done. Okay. Should I skip rail? I can touch rail very, very, very quickly. We have looked at a couple rail connection opportunities. One of them is in South Cobb. And so you can see what basically the gist of what we're talking about with rail is heavy rail is expensive. And what we'd like to know from the community, a large portion of it is not in Cobb County. A large portion of it is in Fulton and the city of Atlanta. And so I'm just going to skip ahead. Basically, these rail lines could be anywhere from probably $2 billion to $3 billion when you consider about 20 years of operating. And that would take up, of that 1 penny for 30 years, would take up anywhere from 40 to 65% of that penny, which means all of the other things that you saw in Cobb and the rest of Cobb would need to be reduced down. And so our question for the community is, Is rail important enough that you would like to see that in lieu of other?
I worked in traffic for 25 years. Traffic light. I worked for traffic engineer, Georgia DOT, and I currently work for Atlanta City Government traffic engineer. And now I'm doing street light stuff. You need the rail for the lower income people to get back and forth to work in a timely manner. You need buses to run people to those transit centers and have those parking rides. You need that. It's essential to have that. And have a big rail to go up and down the 26. We don't need that. We need the model rail. We continue that from Atlanta. We extend from their system and go beyond that. But we need that. You're welcome.
So we have a survey that is currently live. We'll be out here. I don't know if we'll be out here if we have to leave, but we have boards here and we have a survey that is online right now. We are looking for as much information and feedback as we can possibly get from the community. So please, please, please go to our website at cobforward.org and look for the survey. It is live. It will be live through the end of the month. Take it, share it, get it out to as many people as you possibly can. We need information from the community. So thank you.
Minutes behind, but I just wanted to acknowledge a couple of my appointees that came in after we got started. I see Carolyn Turner. She's on our tax assessment board. And Keelan Mitchell, are you still here? He's on the Parks and Recreation Board. And again, I just thank you all for joining us tonight, whether you're here in person or virtual. I really appreciate your time. I thank the staff for always being there for us and being very supportive in everything that we do. But I want to send a special thanks to my assistant, Deidre Watts. I call her, yeah. I call Deidre the deputy commissioner because she does a lot around the office. And, you know, I always give credit to staff. I know a lot of times you guys see the commissioners and we're televised and we're always the ones that are in the paper, but it's the staff. I always compare them to a movie production. Their hair, their makeup, their costume, we're just the actors. So if we didn't have them behind us to prop us up, we would be in a lot of trouble. And our hair and makeup would not look as good as it does. So once again, I thank you guys. They work tirelessly and they never complain. And I don't take that for granted. And also today happens to be Deidre's birthday. So if you all would join me on the count of three, just scream happy birthday. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Deidre. But again, thank you all tonight. And I appreciate the privilege of your time. And until next time, be well.